Hello guys, so today I would be covering up AWS services and the important AWS services definitions, and I would be also showing you a demo on those services. But before that, I would request you to subscribe our channel and also like our video. You can find the link just below at the right side of this video. Let's continue. Let's look into what we have in our upcoming slides. So what's in it for you? I would be covering up what is AWS, the Amazon Web Services. What are the benefits of using AWS as a cloud, and the different AWS services that would include compute service, storage service, database service, networking service, security service, management tool service, developer tool service, likewise. And then I would be covering up demo on those essential AWS services. Let's look into what is AWS. AWS is a broadly adapted cloud platform which offers several on-demand operations like compute power, database storage, content delivery, etc. And that helps corporate scale and grow. AWS services can be used to create and deploy any application in the cloud. For example, it provides services over the internet just like World Wide Web, and AWS is the largest cloud platform available that you can use for either creating the application, creating the databases, likewise the other features also you can use simultaneously. Now, what are the benefits of AWS? The first is it is easy to use. For using the AWS, you require the good internet connectivity, and then you can actually browse it using the web console, and also you can use the command line interfaces as well. Second, flexibility. AWS offers you a flexibility so that you can actually change or tweak your solutions whenever you require. Reliability. So with the help of the redundant infrastructure across the globe, the AWS gives you the reliability that any application or any databases, if you are running on the AWS, that would be basically up all the time, and there will be no or very less downtime. Then comes the scalability. So scalability is one of the important features of AWS, and in that case you can actually scale up your resources at any time you require. So for example, if any of your application is overutilized and you require more resources to run your application, you can do that on the fly. Then comes cost effectiveness. So AWS is a very cost effective platform because here whatever the service that you use, that is charged on a per hour usage only. So you don't have to pay the complete cost like you do when you procure the infrastructure in the data centers. You don't have to basically pay for the complete package or usage of the service. You just have to pay for whatever time duration that you have actually used that service and the associated charges with it. And that makes the AWS a very cost-effective solution. Then comes the security. So AWS is a secure platform, and a lot of measures have been taken so that the security can be enhanced and upgraded in the AWS. So from the infrastructure level, the AWS have a very high level of security that is implemented, and from the application and the solution perspective, it gives you a lot of features where you can actually apply the security as per your requirement onto your applications. Coming to the AWS services, so essential AWS services are compute, storage, database, migration, networking and content delivery, developer tools, management tools, media services, machine learning, analytics, security, identity and compliance, mobile services, application integration, AR and VR, which is augmented reality and virtual reality, customer engagement, business productivity, desktop and app streaming, Internet of Things, which is IoT. Now let's look into the compute service, which is one of the widely used service on the AWS. And what does the compute service do? These services help developers build, deploy, and scale an application in the cloud platform, that is EC2, Lambda, Elastic Container Service, Elastic Load Balancer, Lightsail, and Elastic Beanstalk. These are the services which lie in the compute service section only. One of the most widely used service within the compute section is EC2, which stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. It is a web service that allows developer to rent virtual machines and help to resize the compute capacity. So here what you can do is you can run the virtual machines and you have the privileges to select the type of operating system that you want should be running on your instances or on your virtual machines. And likewise, later you can customize as per your requirement. Lambda is a serverless compute service. It is also responsible to execute code for a specific application. So those who are from the development background, they can focus more on creation of a code. They don't have to create a server, manage it. Instead, they can use a Lambda where they can deploy their code directly onto the Lambda server. Then comes this storage service. Now, couple of storage services are S3 Glacier, EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage, Storage Gateway. Now, AWS provides web data storage service for archiving data. Also, its main advantage is disaster data recovery with high durability. Let's look into some of the essential storage services, and one of the most widely used storage services is S3, which stands for Simple Storage Service. In the Simple Storage Service, what you need to do is you have to create a bucket, and in that bucket you have to put the files in it. So S3 gives open cloud-based storage service which is utilized for online data backup. Then comes the EBS, which is an Elastic Block Storage. Now you can understand EBS as a virtual hard drive also, which attaches with the EC2, and it provides high availability storage volume for persistent data. It is mainly used by Amazon EC2 instances. Then you have the database services. AWS Database Domain Service offers cost-efficient, highly secure and scalable database instances in the cloud. And some of the database services are RDS, which is a relational database service, DynamoDB, the non-relational or NoSQL or NoSQL database service, Elasticache, and Amazon Redshift. Now, one of the essential database service is the DynamoDB. It is a flexible NoSQL database service which offers fast and reliable performance with no scalability issues. It is fast, reliable, highly scalable, and suitable for small scale applications like mobile applications, gaming applications, or anything with respect to the Internet of Things devices. There, the DynamoDB is most widely used or suitable. Then comes the relational database service, that is the RDS, which is a structured database service. It is a managed distributed relational database cloud service that helps developers to operate and scale database in a simple manner. So RDS has different vendors platform with respect to the database usage, and that includes the PostgreSQL, MySQL, then you have Oracle, Microsoft, or MS SQL, and they have their own customized database as well, that is called as the Amazon Aurora. Along with that, they have a Maria database or MariaDB as well. So these are a couple of vendors that give their database engines that you can use on the RDS. Now coming to the networking services, it offers a highly secure cloud platform and helps in connecting your physical network to your private virtual network with high transfer speed. Now, some of the services in the networking and content delivery are VPC, which is a virtual private cloud, a very important service in order to make your applications or services more secure. Route 53, which is a DNS mapping service. Direct Connect, which directly connects with the AWS services and with your data centers. And the CloudFront, that is basically a content delivery service. Now coming to the VPC or a virtual private cloud, it helps a developer to deploy AWS resources such as Amazon EC2 instances in a private virtual cloud, so that you can actually make your EC2 isolated or make it more secure, and even you can make it for a public access also. Depends on the administrator that how they want to customize it. So the complete control of a VPC and its networking is with the admins. Then comes the Route 53 service. It is a web service with highly available domain name system, or the DNS, that helps user to route software by translating text into IP address, and that is why it is called as a DNS mapping service. And that helps you to use your domains or the external domains pointed to the AWS services in case if you use AWS for hosting your websites or the applications. Note, DNS translates text into the IP address. Now coming to the developer tool services, it helps a user build, deploy and run an application source code automatically. It also updates the server and instance on the workload. So first is the CodeStar, Code Build, Code Deploy, Code Pipeline. So CodeStar, it is a service designed to manage application development at a single place. Here developers can quickly develop, build and deploy applications on AWS. So all the managed app development can be done with the CodeStar. Code Build removes the hassle of managing physical servers and helps developer build and test code with continuous scaling. So security, identity and compliance services helps in monitoring a safe environment for your AWS resources by providing limited access to specific users. So in case, let's assume that you have to give an access to someone but with limited privileges, you can primarily use IAM in that case. And if you want to make your applications or deployments more secure, then you can use these services like KMS, IAM, Cognito, WAF, which acts as a firewall. Now, the IAM service, which is the Identity Access Management, is a framework that helps in maintaining access to AWS services in a secure way. So what happens is that the admin who has the complete access of the AWS console provide access to users, and there can be different users, and they would have the privilege accesses defined by the admin. So what type of permissions the admin gives them, they would have those limited access on the AWS console. KMS enables users to create and manage the encryption keys that are used for encrypting data. Coming to management tool services, with the help of management tools using this service, an individual can optimize costs, minimize risk, and automate all the resources running on the AWS infrastructure efficiently. So with the management tools, you can monitor the resources application, its tools and the utilizations, and along with that you can scale up, scale down the resources likewise. With the help of the management tools, you can also do the auditing task. So one of the essential service in the management tool service is the CloudWatch. It is a monitoring tool for AWS resources and customer applications running on AWS platform. So let's assume that you have used EC2, DynamoDB, S3, RDS, and you want to monitor those resources. You can use the CloudWatch that can give you the results. Coming to the CloudFormation, this service helps you in monitoring all your AWS resources at one place so that you can spend minimum time in managing those resources and maximum time on developing the application. So with the help of the CloudFormation, you can deploy the entire solution with the help of creation of a template. You just need to create one template and you have to deploy it. The rest of the things will be done by the AWS, and hence it is a kind of an automation task only. Now let's look into the demo of some of the essential services. So we'll start with the EC2, and I have already logged in into my AWS account. So where exactly you can find the EC2? Just click on the services. Under the compute section, you can find the EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute Service, primarily used for creating the virtual machines. So I'll click on this service and quickly I'll show you how the virtual machine is created and how we can basically access it. So I would be creating one virtual machine or an instance with the Windows operating system. So here you can see there are 3 instances which are already running. Let me create another one. So you have to click on Launch Instances, and here you have to select some configuration details. So most of the configuration details I'll be taking as default, and wherever it is necessary, I'll be making the changes. So first of all, you have to select the operating system in the form of AMI, and I would be looking for Windows 2016. And then you have to select the type of instance with respect to the CPUs, number of CPUs, and the memory capacity. So I'll go with T2.micro, which is a free tier eligible instance. In the configure instance details, the rest of the things we'll keep it as default as of now. Click on add storage. This is basically the virtual hard drive, or the EBS, the elastic block storage, that is attached with the EC2 instance. So primarily it is giving us 30 GB of space without any additional cost. We can leave the tags as blank. Click on configure security groups, and here you can see that the RDP port is by default open, which will actually allow us to RDP, or to have a remote connectivity of our instance. Click on review and launch. Now to give an authentication, or to provide an authentication, we should have a key pair with us so that the AWS can understand or can tally the key pair and give us the access. So I already have a key pair created. What I'll do is I'll create a new key pair for this instance and put a random name. Let's say I put it something like demo. Download the key pair and make sure that you keep your key pair in a safe and secure place. Click on launch instances. Now you will see that there is an instance ID that has been created, which is a number, alphanumeric number, that is randomly given by the AWS. You can name your instances. So let's say we name our instance as Windows 2016. Click on save. And the AWS deploys our instance on a respective infrastructure. It gives us the IP addresses, the public IP and the private IP, which is an internal IP, and we have to access the instance from the public IP only. So now to access that instance, we have to open up the RDP, put the public IP, click on connect, and when it asks you for the authentication, you put a username as administrator, and the password you have to generate by providing the key. So click on connect, and then you have to click on RDP client. Here you have to get a password. So click on get password, browse, and when you click on browse, you have to provide demo.pem file. So it should be in the download section here itself. Just provide that key pair and it is going to give you the password in the encrypted format. Decrypt your password, copy that, and then provide those details to the RDP client. Click on OK, and now it should allow you to log into the instance. Let's wait for the windows to appear. So here you can see that we have logged in into the Windows instance. The Windows 2016 screen is available in front of us.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit ScaleUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
In this particular demonstration, I would be explaining you about how to use a storage service, specifically the S3 service, which is most widely used service under the storage section. Now the S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, primarily used for storing the objects and the files. And what we need to do is we just have to click on the S3 service under the storage section. So when you click on S3 service, you have to create the buckets inside the S3. And the buckets are the places where you keep your folders or you upload the files that are available on your systems. So Here if you'll notice that the S3 service is a global service. That means it is irrespective of the region. And the buckets when you create, they are created in a specific region. Now what is the benefit? The benefit is that if you create a bucket in different regions, all those buckets in different regions can be viewed from a single dashboard. And you don't have to change the region again and again to view the S3 buckets. So what you need to do is you have to click on create bucket, and here you have to specify the name of the bucket. So let's say I put something like demo AWS, and that's the bucket name I am going to select. Now make sure that the bucket name starts with a lowercase and it should be always unique. Now why it should be unique? Because since S3 is a global service, so it may be that somebody else could be using the name that you have provided. So it should be always unique, otherwise it will not be allocated. Now you have to select a region, and that would be, let's say I go with the Ohio region. And in the bucket settings, you can basically change and configure these settings according to your requirement. By default, when you create a bucket, it blocks all the public access from the bucket. So when you have all public access blocked, no object can be viewed from the S3 bucket from a public network or by anyone else. And hence, in order to view the objects or the files in the bucket, you have to unblock or uncheck this option, so that first of all you make the bucket accessible from the public network. Likewise, you can customize as per the requirement, and then click on acknowledgement. The rest of the things we'll keep it as default, and click on create bucket. Now it says that the bucket with the same name already exists, so that means it is not a unique name. Somebody else might have been using this name. So I'll try to keep it more unique, and I'll try to assign some number. So let's say I put something like 987, and it says it has already existed. Let's say 9876, and then click on create bucket. Now if it creates a bucket, that means we have been allocated with that bucket name. So let's wait for a minute to get that bucket created. So that happens quickly, and you can see there are a couple of buckets already created here, and these buckets can be viewed in a single dashboard. So some of the buckets are in Mumbai region, some of the buckets are in Ohio region, but they are available in the same or a single dashboard. So I'll open up the bucket that I have recently created, and I'll try to upload some documents. Now what you can do is you can create a folder also inside the S3, and when you create a folder, you can upload the objects accordingly. Otherwise, you can directly also upload the objects. So click on upload, and we will upload any random file from my system onto the S bucket. So I'll basically file, and then click on upload. Now it is uploading my object from my system onto the S3 bucket, and now it has successfully done. So it says the message is successful. Now in order to validate, I will click on the bucket from the S3 service and view this object. Now you can see here is my bucket. So I'll just open up this bucket, and these DNS records.csv file is available with us. Now the S3 is not only limited till storing the objects or the files. It has many other functionalities and the features also. Like you can enable versioning, you can host a static website on the S3. Along with that, you can have a cross-region replication enabled, so that you can have high availability of your objects, or you can have a redundancy of your critical objects in different regions. So likewise, there are more features that would be covered up in the detail section of an S3 service. Now coming to another section of the essential services, that is the database. Now here you can see I have a database section in the AWS, and it has multiple services within it. The RDS is there, DynamoDB is there, Elastic Cache, and the other database services are there. So I would be showing a demo on the DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. Now when we say it is a NoSQL database, that means it is a non-relational database service where we can create a database table directly from the web console. We don't require a separate database engine like in the case of RDS. And in the tables, you can insert the values and view those values directly from the AWS dashboard itself. So it says Amazon DynamoDB is a fast and flexible NoSQL database service primarily suitable for IoT and web gaming and other mobile applications. So what you need to do is, it is a straightforward database service which can be accessed while creating a table itself, and it's a compute based database service. That is the reason that it is more fast. So click on create table, and what you need to do is you just have to put a table name. So I'll just put something like test, and in the partition key, so these partition keys are unique entities. So what you need to do is you have to specify a partition key. So I'll put something like ID, and the string, instead of string, I'll use a number. Likewise, I can add sort keys also. Let's say I put a name, and the name should be in the string format. Now these are the unique entries. These are the fixed entries in the table. And after that, we are going to put the attributes, and in the attributes, the data will be inserted. So what you need to do is, rest of the things we'll keep it as default as of now. Click on create. And here you can see the table has been created. The test table has been created. Now if I click on the items, so you would see that it has the sort keys available, the ID and the sort key associated with that, that is the name. But it does not have any entry because we have not added any value or the attributes. So how we can add or insert the values in this table? That can be done many ways. You can enter manually. You can use the help of CLI to enter the large chunk of data directly, upload it onto the DynamoDB table, and also you can use the APIs also in order to insert the data inside the table. So what you will do is, we will click on create item, and in the ID we will put some value. Let's say number 1 string. Let's say we put something like we will go with a random name. So instead of putting any name, we'll put a value like ABCD. That should be fine. And then we will insert some attributes. So let's say I put string as rank, and I'll put something like rank 2, and then click on save. So here you will see, just refresh the database table, close it and open it up again. Click on the items. Now here you can see the ID 1, name is ABCD, got the rank 2. Likewise, you can click on create items. Let's say the serial number or the ID 2. Name, let's say we put something like, we can go with XYZ, any random thing, put it up as number rank. And let's say this particular value got a rank 3. Likewise, you can add some more items. String, let's say you put something like HJK, and you put a rank, let's say it's a rank number 1 holder, rank 1 holder, right? So likewise, this is just an example. Likewise, you can add the attributes as per your need, and the table can be filtered out based on the attributes also. So if you have to search some values in the DynamoDB table, so you can always use filters to basically search the values inside the table. Apart from that, the DynamoDB table has a lot of other functionalities. It can be basically, you can have a backup of a table created in the DynamoDB table, in the Dynamo database, and then you can retrieve or recover the data by restoring the backups from the DynamoDB. This database can be created in the cluster format also. So these are a couple of features that you can use with the DynamoDB. Now let's move into the next section. Now coming to the networking services, so there are some of the networking services which are very useful, and that includes a VPC, which is a virtual private cloud, CloudFront, Route 53, API gateway, etc. Now I will basically demonstrate about the Route 53 service in this demo. So in the Route 53 is basically a DNS mapping service. So what you can do is, let's assume that you are hosting any web application on the server and you want to route the domain traffic onto those servers. You need to have the help of Route 53 to do that. So what you need to do is you just have to click on Route 53 service, and from this service you can register your domains also. Otherwise, if you have domains purchased from any external site, you can point them to the Route 53 name servers also. So first of all, in the Route 53 you have to create a hosted zone. So there is already one hosted zone all created. Now when you create a hosted zone, you have to specify the domain name. So let me show you. I have one dummy domain. This is the domain that has been defined. So what you have to do is when you click on create hosted zone, you have to put a domain. Here you can see example.com. Likewise, you have to put your own domain and click on the public hosted zone. Click on create hosted zone, and it is going to give you 4 name servers. Now those 4 name servers have to be updated on the platform from where you have purchased the domain. So that is mandatory in order to route the traffic to the Route 53 service, right? So here you can see I already have a hosted zone created for a domain, and it has given me 4 name servers. These are the name servers, and these name servers have been updated in a record set from where the domain has been purchased, right? Once it is done, then you have to route the domain traffic to a server. So what you have to do is you have to click on create record, and in the create record you have to specify the IP address, or you can use the alias also, where the traffic should be routed to, where your application is hosted at. So ideally it is a server details, and it exists with certain policies also. So you can see some view existing records. So here you can see this particular domain is routed to a DNS value which is hosted in the Elastic Beanstalk. Instead of that, you can put an IP address of the EC2 instance also. You can use the S3 URL also. You can use the CloudFront URL also. So likewise, what would happen is that the domain traffic will be routed to the server where actually the application or a web application is hosted at. Now, I'm using a routing policy as simple routing policy. That means all the traffic should be routed to that particular domain. Whereas there are other routing policies also in the Route 53 that includes the weighted routing policy, which acts as a kind of a load balancing, geolocation routing policy, multi-value answer routing policy, and then you have a redundancy based routing policy, which is a failover one. So likewise, you can select as per your requirement. So what you need to do is you just have to click on create records. You have to specify, you have the domain, so you have to specify any particular info you want to put before the domain. Otherwise you can leave it as blank. And in the record type, let's assume that you are using an IP address of a server where your web application is hosted at. So you can basically use A routes traffic to an IPv4 address and put an IP address. Make sure that you put a public IP address or the elastic IP address attached to your instance. In case if you are not using any particular IP address or the URL, you can use the alias also. So likewise, the records can be created. Along with that, the Route 53 service is used for domain verifications also. Like if you want the email services onto your web application, then you can basically verify your domain directly from the Route 53 service. You can get the verification done for the SSL certificate creation. For that also the records will be directly created from the Route 53 service because it is actually managing or hosting your domain. Now with respect to the security services, the most widely used service is the IAM, which is Identity Access Management. That lies under security, identity and compliance. So from the IAM you can create the users, whom you want to give an access to your AWS console. You can create groups and you can add multiple users in that group, give them the permissions. You can create the roles also so that multiple services can interact or integrate it together. So how the IAM is used, click on the IAM service and I'll show you how a particular user can be created and how the user is basically uses the credentials to access the AWS console. Now the IAM dashboard is open, and when you open up the IAM dashboard, it gives you the URL. So this is the URL through which the user has to actually access the AWS console by providing the user credentials. Now how the users are created, just click on the users and here you just have to click on add user. So I'll create one sample user. Let's say I put something like sample user. And what type of an access you want to give that particular user. Do you want to give a programmatic access, which is primarily the CLI access, or you want to give the AWS Management Console? So right now we'll go with the AWS Management Console access. Now, do you want an auto generation of the password or do you want to customize the password? So let's assume that we customize the password. So put any value. Make sure the password meets all the criterias and then click on next permissions. Now, what kind of permissions you want to give to that user? Let's assume that you want to give an access of a particular service only to that user. So you have to actually search a policy for that particular service that can be given an access to a user. Otherwise, if you want to give an admin policy or the admin access to that user, you can search an admin policy there. So the permissions are important, otherwise the user would not have privileges to access the AWS console. So we'll attach the existing policies directly. So click on it. And here, let's assume that I want to give an admin access to that user. So I'll just click on the admin access. Now, to a particular user, you can give multiple policies also. It is not necessary that you have to give only a single policy. So you can provide a multiple policies to the users also. Now click on next tags. Let's make the tags blank. Click on review and create a user. Now you'll see that our sample user would be created, and to access the console, we'll just copy this URL which has the account information as well, that is the account number. So copy the link or you can copy the complete URL. Log out from the root account. And then paste the URL that was copied from the console. And then we have to give the user credentials. So we'll put sample user as the username and the password that we provided while creating the user. Click on sign in, and if it is correct, then it should allow us to log in into the AWS console while asking the password change. So we'll change the password. Confirm password change. And now it should allow us to log in into the root accounts AWS console with the admin privileges. Now the next service is the monitoring services, and under the monitoring services, primarily the CloudWatch, the CloudTrail, the CloudFormation, these are some of the services that are most widely used. Now the CloudWatch is a service which is primarily used for monitoring the metrics, primarily of the servers. Like for example, if you create an EC2 instance and you want to basically watch out for the metrics associated with the CPU utilization or the storage utilization, the network in, network out, all those information you can get it from the CloudWatch. Now CloudWatch is not only related to monitoring the metrics, it can generate the alarms also, and here you can get the events also generated, which or the events that can be created which can trigger the Lambda function as well. So what you have to do is you just have to click on a dashboard. So monitoring metrics are viewed with the help of the CloudWatch. So first of all, you have to create a dashboard. Now you have to put a dashboard name. Let's say I put something like monitoring EC2. Click on create dashboard. Now how do you want the reports to be published? You have to actually select a widget. I want that, okay, the report should be visible in the numeric form. So I'll select a number. Now click on the dashboard that was created, and let's again add the widget. And here we'll select the metrics primarily for the EC2 per instance metric. So we have one single instance running. Now there are 14 metrics available for that particular instance. Now I would be looking for the CPU utilization for this particular instance. So I'll just select for the CPU utilization, and it is going to give me some information about what is the current CPU utilization of that particular instance. So that is somewhere around 29.3%. The CPU utilization has been done for the single instance that is running in my EC2 dashboard. So likewise, you can add some more metrics and view them in this particular dashboard, and the CloudWatch will keep on publishing the data at a refresh interval of 5 minutes. That is the default value. So that was with respect to the AWS Essential Services, guys. Thank you for watching our video.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.